tutorial, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this pumpkin on my Addy Professional, which is my smaller Addy machine. I also have a king size Addy machine and an off-brand machine that's a little bit smaller than the king size. You can see all the different size pumpkins I have right there in this tray. So I'm going to show you guys how to make it. The same concept is used to make every single pumpkin. The only difference is the row counts that you're going to need for your machine. When I do the portion of the video where I show the row count for the smaller size Addy, I will throw up on the screen my row counts for my king size Addy and my off-brand machine, so that if you have a machine that's more similar to that size, you'll have a better idea of how many rows you're going to need. So hope you guys really enjoyed this tutorial. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more Addy tutorials, see crochet tutorials, market setups, any of that kind of stuff, definitely subscribe. Let's get on with the tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this pumpkin right here on the Professional Addy. This is the smaller Addy that is on the market. I believe it's the original Addy.
I don't ask for much, no I don't need that much, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go until I have a 25-inch tail. I'm gonna stick that in there. I'm gonna go until I find my first black loop right here. I'm gonna wrap it in front, behind, in front, behind, in front, behind, all the way around until you get back to the first black peg. And then you're going to open your yarn guide and slide your yarn before it goes around the black one and close your yarn guide. My yarn is a mess because I just used this for a previous project, so bear with me as I'm untangling throughout. I'm going to clear my counter now, and I'm going to crank out and do about 30 rows. You're gonna want 30 rows for this Addy design, and then I will show you what the next steps are. So okay, now that we have our 30 rows, again, I'm gonna leave about a 2-foot tail on the end. Cut the yarn, slide that out of the way, and then you guys can cast off the same way that I did for my bonfire beanie tutorial, where you put scrap yarn in there and then you go back and use a needle and pick up all the stitches and pull out the scrap yarn. I'll put a link to that video below if you guys want to know what I'm talking about. I think that that can go a lot faster if you're using the king size or maybe another off-brand machine, but for the professional size Addy, I've been finding that I like to do it where I take my yarn out of the yarn guide and I just begin to crank, and I just do it over a little bit, and you can see my yarn comes out right here, and I'm actually going to pick up these stitches right off by sticking my needle through the 2 little red prongs and up. But when you do this, you gotta be careful not to pull up too hard on your needle, because the one that's next can slip off. So I just hold my finger on that one while I pull my yarn through, and I do a few at a time. So I'll do like 3, 1, 2, 3. And then I found that the needle that comes with the Addy works best. This is just a metal one that I found that has the bent tip. The bent tip needles tend to do the best, in my opinion, on getting all of these off of the Addy machine if you want to do it directly. So you got to crank it a few more. Get some more off. And I don't crank it all the way at once, because literally it can cause all of them just to fall off and you'll lose all your ends. Okay, so now that you have your pumpkin, or I guess not your pumpkin yet, just your tube here, you're going to cinch the end that still has your needle hooked on. You're going to cinch that closed. Just pull it tight, then open up the inside of your pumpkin, and you're gonna take some polyfill. I bought a bag of polyfill. I'll pop up on the screen here, the kind that I bought, and I got mine from Joann's. I got a bag from Walmart too. They were relatively the same price. So any kind of polyfill, you don't have to get the really expensive kind. This just says best performing fiber for pillows, dolls, and stuffed toys and crafts. So it was definitely the cheaper of all the bags there. So I just rip it apart a little bit. This keeps your polyfill from being lumpy inside of your item. And once I got it pretty full, I'm gonna start cinching it closed. I'm not gonna cinch it closed all the way, just so that I can get an idea of how much more I need to stick in there. And it doesn't matter if you wanna do it super full or less full. You can mess around. It will change the look of the pumpkins a little bit. Maybe it'll make them a little bit more plump or a little less plump. But I just do that, and I keep kind of pulling it closed. Okay, so this is my pumpkin right now. It's just this cute little ball, which I think could be cute if you wanted to implement these into some kind of design. But we are going to now take our needle with our working yarn still on it and go right through the center. And we're gonna come out right on the center on the other side, so it's like center to center. We're gonna pull our yarn through, and then we're going to pull it tight and pull it down so it squishes there, and we're going to tie it in a knot with our other end of yarn. So I'm getting my knot ready. I'm going to pull that yarn up and pull it tight, and then I'm gonna do another little knot, just like you're doing a double knot when you tie your shoes. And that gives us like the general shape of our pumpkin. And then now we're just gonna take the yarn, the working yarn that we have, and we're gonna go around and we're going to pull the yarn around and pull it up tight through the hole and make these kind of sections for our pumpkin. And you can make as many sections as you want or as little as you want. I found that it's best to go between two lines of yarn. You'll see like there's like a row that dips in. It looks best when you can just match that same line through your pumpkin. And you just want to pull them tight as you go. And honestly, this one long tail would probably be enough to do your whole pumpkin. The reason that I had to do a second long tail to start or to end was because, especially if you're using velvet yarn, if you pull on it too hard, can break. I've had it happen to me multiple times on projects when I really could not afford for it to break. But this just protects you that when you go and you're pulling it tight and you're doing your knots and stuff, that if this yarn broke for some reason, you'd still have another tail attached. And then after a while, if you find that you're never using the second tail, you can start with a little bit less, I guess, of a tail on the end. You can make it like a 10-inch tail instead of a 24-inch tail. And once I have these all spaced out how I want them, because you can always pick them up and move them around, I'm just gonna tie this in a knot. And you have your pumpkin. Now for stems, as far as stems go, you can get sticks from your yard. You can do cinnamon sticks and stick them in there. You can hot glue them on there or just stick them through the center hole of your project. I've seen people make them out of resin. I've seen people use little leather tags on their pumpkins. There's all kinds of things you can do for your pumpkins, but this is how you get the body, and I think these are super cute, super easy, and super quick.
But tonight I'm letting it go. spend my coin for sure.
I decided to make leather stems. You can get a whole bag full of scrap leather from Hobby Lobby or Joann's, maybe even Michael's, for like $8. And this is enough to literally do hundreds of pumpkins. There's so much leather in there and it was so cheap. And it's perfect for what we need. So I cut mine about 3/4 of an inch wide and 2 to 3 inches long for the smaller pumpkins. When I do the larger pumpkins, I usually do them a little bit wider, but it's all personal preference of how big you want your stem to be. And then I take my leather punch that I have. There's a bunch of different kinds. You can get them for like $10 at Joann's or Hobby Lobby. My local Myers has them, Walmart has them. And punch holes in either end of my tag. But you can poke it through with just a needle, but it's just really hard. So I prefer using my leather punch since I already had one. But it's not 100% necessary. You can use an owl and make holes as well. But once you get the tags done, then you are going to use the tail of your yarn from your pumpkin, pull the stem all the way tight to the pumpkin, and then use the other tail and do like a double knot to secure the pumpkin. And then once you've secured it tight down and you're sure that it's on there, you can just weave the ends of the yarn through the bottom of the pumpkin and trim your yarn, and then you are done with your pumpkin.
I just wanna feel alive. It's just what I do when I'm out, so try not to hold me down. Feel alive.